And so there's this story I came across on Facebook one day. It talked about a woman who got off of work one day and cooked for her family. This is something that she normally did. But this time was different because when she served her husband, she served him burnt toast with jam, right? And so the kids were sitting at the table expecting for their dad to say something to their mother about how burnt the toast was. But instead of him saying something about it, he ate it. Now, the kids overheard their mother come to their dad later on that night and apologize for the dinner and just explain to him how she was just tired, had a long day at work, and she knew that the dinner she served her family wasn't the best. You know, it wasn't how it normally was when she would cook. And so he played it off and he was like, "Oh, honey," he was like, "But I like burnt toast." He was like, "A little burnt toast ain't hurt nobody." You know what I'm saying? Now me, I'm not eating no burnt toast, but it's nasty as hell. But I understand where he was coming from. You know what I'm saying? So later on, the kids had came to their dad and asked him, like, "Do you really like burnt toast?" And he was like, "Nah." He was like, "But I had to understand that, everybody ain't perfect." He said, "Including me." And he admitted to his kids, he said, "Sometimes I fall short. I forget anniversaries, I forget birthdays." And he was like, "Your mother, she cooks for us every day. She cooks, cleans, she go to work." He was like, "So I can't fault her for this flaw." Now, many people would have said something about that toast. Some people would have actually complained and made a scene in front of their kids about that toast. Or if they didn't make a scene in front of the kids, when they got time alone with the wife, they would have complained and bitched and all that shit like I talked about in my first video. Did her husband have an opportunity to complain about the toast? Yeah, he could have said something. He could have, explained to her how disappointed he was in his dinner and all that shit, but he didn't. See, because he sat there and he understood where she was coming from. He considered how she felt. And he still looked at the fact that even though at the time he wasn't aware of why she served them that type of dinner, he considered that maybe she didn't feel good or maybe she had a bad day, but even still, he never brought it to her attention. Didn't say not one word to her about it. She came to him. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, you got to pick and choose your battles. Now, me, to be honest with you, I'm not eating a toast. I've had burnt toast before and that shit nasty as hell. But I honestly probably would have reacted the same way the husband did. I wouldn't have ate the toast, but at the same time, I wouldn't have tripped because I would have considered how she felt. Or I would have considered how she possibly felt. You know what I mean? Like, she had a bad day, she got off work. But I would have looked at the fact that she still put in an effort. Even though it wasn't her best, she still decided to feed her family. And so it's the principle in that story that matters. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand that both of y'all are flawed. You not perfect, they not perfect. And even if they doing some shit that may have been perfect along the way and they fuck up, you can't point that out. You can't make a big deal about that shit. Because you come up short just as well. You got to really determine, like, if it's not a motherfucker cheating on you or blatantly disrespecting you, calling you out your name, the way they discipline the children, some shit like that would matter, that really requires a conversation, then don't bring it up. For instance, if some of you women that clean up all the time, you clean up, then clean the whole fucking house, and your partner come home, don't even realize that you had cleaned up, don't even recognize it. They get in the house, they start throwing clothes and shit all over the place, putting their shoes where they ain't supposed to go, shit like that, and you notice it. Now deep down inside, you probably feel away, because in your mind, you probably like, damn, I just cleaned this fucking house, like, and they just throwing their shit all over the place. Some of y'all would have complained and said something about the clothes being thrown all over the place, or you having to pick up the shoes, or pick up their dirty drawers, or some shit like that. But you got to consider that maybe they had a bad day. They probably had a bad day and probably genuinely didn't really notice that the house was clean. Because in their mind, when you had a bad day, when you think about when you have a bad day and you get home, you honestly don't think about shit else. Like, you're just glad to be home. Like, you don't, all that other shit is irrelevant at the moment. You know what I'm saying? So you can either sit there and make an argument about them throwing their shit all over the place, or you can think like, well, I'm going to still pick this shit up. I'm going to still put it where it need to be. And then, just have a conversation with them. And honestly, you don't even have to bring up what they did. All you just simply have to say is, how you doing? How was your day? And most times they'll sit there and tell you how their day was. And then you will find out just from simply asking them how their day was, you will find out, like, damn, that's why they did what they did. You know what I mean? It's all about being your partner's peace as much as possible. You may not be able to help them with a lot of shit that go on in their lives individually, as an individual. But one of the greatest things you can do is be their peace while they're going through what they're going through. And vice versa, it goes both ways. Don't make it an argument if it don't have to be. And even if it's something that you feel like needs to be brought up to their attention, there's a way to go about it. It's that simple.